Good afternoon, everyone. I think we're ready to begin. Welcome to Student of the Month. I'm Marina Scott, principal here at Libertyville. This is usually introduced by our lovely activity director, Jen Ulix, and she's not here today, so I'm going to give you the intro to Student of the Month. We've come full circle. We're back around to freshmen, so we're honoring freshmen here today. It's really a special award because there isn't specific criteria for the award. So when students ask me, how do I get Student of the Month? I don't really have an answer because that comes from the hearts of teachers. They pick a student who they feel has made a special impression on them, and today they're going to explain to you why. And that's what makes this award so special, that explanation. So when the teachers come up here, students, you're going to stand right next to the podium so that you can be embarrassed the whole time they're talking about you, right? That happens to us too. And Jack is here from Domino's Pizza, and he is going to provide your family with a free large pizza, right? Yes. Yeah, so you can take that home and celebrate this once again. You can also review it. It's going to be taped today, so you can also review it online and watch it over and over, or show people that weren't able to come here today. But I do want to thank parents and siblings, and sometimes we have grandparents here who come because that makes it really special too. So many times I think, oh, this is kind of an inconvenient time of the day, but people always come here to support their children and to support us as a school, and that's part of what makes this school so special. So thank you for doing that, and this award is really partly yours here today too. I wanted to thank Kelly Brosio because she organizes this. She calls you down to her office, and Michelle Jones for taking the pictures today. So she'll tell you if your hands aren't at your sides or to get the backpack out of the way. And we also have a couple other things in that backpack for you as a prize today. So without further ado, because I know a lot of people have other things to get going on today, we're going to have Mrs. Newberger introduce Peter.
Good afternoon. Oh, you have to go on that. Sorry. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everybody. This is always hard for me because I'm not a public speaker like all the teachers are. I don't talk to groups all the time, so I tend to fight actually nominating people because I don't want to stand up here. But when this came around, I kind of had to say a few things about Peter. Peter and his family moved here from Michigan over the summer, which is not so easy coming in as a freshman and not knowing anybody. So he had that challenge. He also has some medical struggles that he deals with on a daily basis, and I could tell him a little bit about that. Goldenhar syndrome, right? And so he's had to face many surgeries and lots of things, I think, and that's not even the reason that I nominated him either. I didn't nominate him because he's famous. That is another reason I could have nominated him. He speaks to classes all over the country about what it's like to have Goldenhar syndrome, and has met the author. I don't know if you guys ever read this book. It's a pretty popular book, but he's actually mentioned in the book with the author's notes. So he continues to inspire kids all over the country on a weekly basis. I think he's planning a trip to California next week to talk to 1,000 sixth graders. So he should be actually behind the microphone, and I should be standing there because he does this stuff all the time, and I do not. But the reason we did is not the reason we nominate him is because he inspires us every day with his kindness. And I think sometimes we forget how easy it is to be just nice to one another, and he reminds us of that every single day. So, congratulations. Put the book down.
Oh, it's on the top. Jack has it.
Oh, Jack has it.
Do you want to
I thought, okay, that second, because you don't want it in the picture.
Jack's got me off of you. All right.
Congratulations, Peter.
Congratulations, Jack. Jack, have you ever spoken to any student groups here at Libertyville? Have you ever? Not yet? Oh, we'll have to put that on the agenda then. I can only imagine how inspiring it is. Next we have John, and he's been introduced by Mr. Gerlach.
Good job. You found the X. I am fortunate enough to have John in my graphic communications class. I have also been fortunate enough to have his older sister and also his older brother, and I know then there's an older sister, but I wasn't lucky enough, or I wasn't here maybe, I'm not sure at the time. But all three kids, I have to give you credit, have been phenomenal. I've loved having them all. I will say I nominated Trevor probably 8 years ago now or something of that time frame, and TJ kind of went under the radar a little bit, and then John came back into play. So it's been great having John in class. He actually was in a class with a bunch of upperclassmen, quite honestly, and he kind of sat by himself, but he came every day, really quiet, ready to work, and just kind of did go under the radar, I think, for a while, and then I started noticing he started doing really good work, and he kept doing really good work, and he kept doing really good work, and then he started asking, can I print extra stuff? And then he started printing extra stuff, and he went above and beyond what he really needed to do in the class. Then he started printing stuff for his brother and sister they go to U of I, and they're both there on scholarships, and he was printing stuff for them, and he just did phenomenal work. He ended up being a nice kid. He ended up helping other kids at certain times in class get some things printed, and it's just been wonderful having him in class, and I can't thank him enough. I hope he continues. I now have him in graphics too, where we haven't really, I know it's been a little bit of time, we haven't really turned anything in yet because we've done big projects, or we're working on big projects, so haven't seen his work yet this semester, but I'm sure it's great, and we'll get there. But I enjoy him being there, and I look forward to his big smile every single day. And he's a wonderful young man, and that's why I nominated him Student of the Month.
You are a giant on it. And the good news is he's only a freshman. You can for years to come.
hopefully.
Yeah, for years to come. So cool how you inspired a group, too, of upperclassmen. That's kind of sometimes a hard place to be. Next we have Dr. Brown, and I don't know if Mr. Thomas is here as well, or Dr. Brown, introducing Bailey.
We're excited to nominate Bailey as it's not really music. I think it's more fine arts. Bailey has jumped right in freshman year and got involved in lots of things really quickly. She's in my freshman choir class, which is a really large class, a lot of very talented young people. She also was cast in our fall musical, which is no small feat for a freshman. Usually the fall musical, you might have 2-3 freshmen. We had 6 or 7. But this year there was a specific skill that you needed to be able to do to be in the fall musical, and that was roller skate. How many adults out there grew up at the skating rink like me? Bailey started, could you skate before June? Did you know how to roller skate before June? We started having skating outings weekly at Mundelein, and just to get kids started practicing, especially those that didn't know how. And Bailey came, and she and her friend Alice would be there every Wednesday, or a lot of Wednesdays, practicing. She ended up getting cast in the show as one of the group of characters in the show that had a lot of stage time. And you might be surprised, but not only can she roller skate, she can sing and dance on roller skates. It is awesome. Not only is she awesome at roller skating, but Bailey is just super, super nice hardworking, dependable young lady. We are very fortunate to have her in the fine arts. Looking forward to having her in for all 4 years of high school, theater, music, and any other arts that she can be involved in. This is the kind of student that we all come to work and want to teach every single day. It makes this job really, really great. So thanks, Bailey, for all that you do. We appreciate it. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
We were just chatting up here. Bailey's also going to be in the upcoming freshman-sophomore play. And is that in a couple weeks, Bailey?
Yeah, in 3 weeks.
Yeah, in 3 weeks. Next, we have Mr. Taylor introducing Sydney.
All right, I wrote all this down. It's easier that way. My name is John Taylor. I'm Sydney's Algebra 1 teacher this year. My nomination for Student of the Month is Sydney Donovan. Since the beginning of the year, Sydney has been consistently focused on being successful in class. She has made an extra effort to seek help outside of the classroom by coming in before school and during her study hall for individual help. All of these reasons are enough to be recognized as Student of the Month, but she also shows great character and kindness. So that's what I wrote up about her, but I wanted to say this also a little bit extra. As a teacher, it's not often you're told thank you by your students, even though you know they appreciate all your hard work that we do for them. It's almost an unsaid thank you because they would not be so respectful during class if they did not appreciate what their teachers were doing for them. However, this year around Thanksgiving, Sydney wrote me a thank you note to me for meeting with her on my free time. I thought it was such a great act of kindness. I can count on one hand how many thank you cards, which I keep tacked to my desk in my office, on one hand for the last 10 years I've been here at LHS. So this gesture meant a lot to me. I think this demonstrates how kind and thoughtful Sydney is as a person and as a student. So congratulations.
Thank you, Sydney. And Ms. Heller is going to announce or introduce James.
Hi, so I'm really excited that I was able to nominate James. He does his best all day long, so I'm just going to read this. James comes to school with a positive attitude and keeps it throughout his day. When he gets to class, he makes sure he does his academic work well, and he learns quickly from his mistakes. James is very respectful of his teachers and listens to their instructions. He doesn't like to miss out on class time, and he always strives to get his homework done with the expectations of good grades. He has become more comfortable participating in classes, and along with having a positive attitude academically and socially, he treats his peers with respect even if others are grumbling around him. He has fun in the halls and at lunchtime with his friends, giggling about whatever. So I want to say, great job, James. You're doing good.
I always see him smiling. I have never seen him not smiling. So that last comment is so true. What is it you like best about LHS, James? What keeps you smiling? Your friends. Your friends? Cool. Well, that's a very important thing. Next, we have Mrs. Getch, and she's introducing Brendon.
I always love this day. I sit and beam, and I feel the pride that parents have for their children, and what an honor it must be. So I just wanted to say I haven't yet had the opportunity since I've been at LHS to nominate a student, and Brendon has been so great. He's in my Spanish 2 class, El Se Llama Bruno. And I will keep this brief. I was very verbose in my write-up. I apologize for that. But I wanted to cite my work with examples. He is such a curious learner. I see it in his eyes. He's got a spark. He's energetic. He goes the extra mile in class. A lot of times in language classes, you get a lot of, how do you say this? How do you say that? And he says, what if I said, and tells me his own ideas. So he's constantly thinking about adding details, and just he goes for it every single day, which is unique in the lower levels of language learning, because a lot of times students are afraid, they don't want to make mistakes. And they don't realize that making mistakes is part of learning a language. So Brendon does a great job with that. He's meticulous in his work, his writing and his speaking. But one of the things I think is so great about him is he takes the initiative to learn things even on his own. Twice he's come into class when we started a new unit, and he's brought with him an infographic that he's made about the country that we're studying. And he's like, Senora, I know we're studying Argentina, and I made this infographic. And it's like 4 pages of paper taped together and really well done, far better than I could have done with anything. And I'll say, Brendon, that's awesome. Could you share it with the class? And he'll go over it with the class, and he talks about the culture and the food and the places, and then we hang it up so the kids can refer to it throughout the time that we're studying that particular location. He did it just quite recently for Puerto Rico. And then one of the other things I love about him is he goes out in the community, and I can tell he's trying to put his Spanish to good use. On 3 occasions now, including today, he's gone to a local panaderia, and he's brought in pan dulce, like sweetbread for us to have, or for me to have, really. He's given it to me, which I don't hate at all. It's delicious. But it's just sweet. I can see that he's constantly thinking about new ways to experience the language and the culture that we're studying. So I just wanted to say to him that he might not know the influence that he has on his peers in our class, but I see it, and I see that when he is enthusiastic, they too are enthusiastic, and we work in groups, so a lot of times he kind of gets his group pumped up. But he's just been a joy to have in class, and I hope that he never, ever loses that curiosity and that spark and that desire to know more, because I expect great things from him. So Brendon, thanks for being a fantastic student. Take a picture, then you get your pizza.
Congratulations. What did you originally got you interested in studying Spanish?
Well, I didn't really like Spanish before.
We didn't even set this up or anything.
That wasn't even planned.
Yeah, because my other teachers weren't really nice about Spanish.
Well, you certainly lit the fire, that's for sure. Yeah. You know, that got me to thinking, new idea for Student of the Month, right? Let the student respond. That was very cool. I was glad I asked you that question. And it's so funny to watch you up here, students, as you're up here, because I can see the bubble above your head going, I hope she doesn't say that. I hope she doesn't talk about that. You're thinking about that one event you don't want disclosed to the entire group. Next, we have Mr. Lapish, and he's introducing Grace.
Okay. You just got introduced to the way Grace kind of does almost everything. She has no problem asking questions about anything. She was the first one to ask if that's the X. She doesn't care if anybody cares if she knows where the X is, but she just wants to be in the right spot. She'll ask. She has a unique presence in my class, and I think one of the fun things about teaching, in addition to getting to know students over a long period of time in a way that parents really can't, we're lucky because we get them on the end that, they're in the desk. It's like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And I know that at home sometimes these really great kids that we see, there's a little different dynamic at home because there's a different relationship. We're like the uncles and the aunts, and we get all the good stuff, and we can be a little goofy with them in some ways that maybe parents can't, and I know that works the other way too. So the first few weeks or so, we're trying to figure out this kid or that kid. And I think the fun thing about Grace is she's not necessarily easy to figure out at first because she's just flowy. She just like flows into the room. She's just like, I'm here, and I want to walk over this way this time. And now this time, I'm going to go to my desk this way. She might just, the way she just, not that she did that exactly. I'm giving examples. She's going, that never happened, Mr. Lapish. But she just doesn't really care about what people are seeing and what she's doing, and so she just does kind of things as she wants to. And the one thing that I'll mention that I wrote up was the first time that I asked her how she was, and I don't know if she read that this time. Did you read the book? The little book thing that has stuff that I wrote about? Oh, she didn't get it yet. Oh, so that's a mystery. I always thought this was known ahead of time. Okay, anyway, so I asked her one day, and it was probably in the context of kids were at their desks doing group work. I said, hey, Grace, how you doing? And so here's Grace. Her response is, I'm awesome. And that was it. It wasn't a lot of words, but it just said so much, because most students, if you ask them how they are and they said, I'm awesome, you might get this attitude, this thing like, yeah, I'm awesome, and you better see it. But with Grace, it's like, no, it's just the truth. I'm awesome, and I know it. Clap my hands, or whatever. And she just responds in ways that are just honest and fun, and she brings that kind of presence every morning. As I said in the little write-up, she will often be there. We'll be talking about something, a student will say something, and maybe I won't be praising them. Maybe I'm just moving on to something else, but she'll be like there, that was really good, Tom. That was great. And she'll just jump in and give a little praise, and then I'll have to go like, she got me on that one. She's better than I am at this moment. She should be the teacher at this moment, at least for that. Anyway, Grace she brings a great presence to class in first period, which isn't the easiest period. I do have a great class. I think she'd agree with that, right?
Yes.
And there are a lot of fun kids in class, and I think it's interesting because normally I'd say that class was great, but without Grace, it just wouldn't be the same. It just wouldn't be like flowy, and she kind of connects everybody together, and everybody knows Grace, and we'll talk to her, and she'll talk to them too if they don't want to talk to her, because that's part of who Grace is. Anyway, it was easy to nominate Grace for this, so congratulations, Grace.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have Grace 8th period, and she's also flowy.
She flows the entire day. She's got that flow going.
I do yoga.
I know. I was going to say, where you need the flow, she had the flow. We did swimming yoga together. I was going to say that too. Next we have Ms. Rosenblum, and she is introducing Eloise.
Eighth hour biology. A room full of energetic freshmen on the verge of their freedom from the school day. It's hard to be a standout student in the jungle of Mrs. Rosenblum's class, which is studded with outstanding students and enthusiastic participants. But as in biology itself, environmental pressures lead to the survival of the fittest. Eloise has not only survived, but prospered in my class this year. In fact, I'm excited to see her parents to discover if these qualities were inherited or perhaps caused by some random mutation. But what makes Eloise stand out are some of the same qualities that make a good scientist. Scientists fundamentally need to be curious. They yearn to learn what makes things work. They also need to be effective communicators, and Eloise asks good questions that show a deeper understanding of the subject matter. She demonstrates this in all of our many, many written assignments. Many think of science as an uncreative field, but in reality, scientists must be very creative. Microbiology in particular is a very abstract field that requires students to visualize processes that they can't see. Eloise demonstrates her learning through drawings and models that are both creative and beautiful. Scientists must also be able to work as part of a team and work independently. And scientists need to be patient. Eloise is a patient team member, a lab partner who is willing to explain complex concepts to her neighbors. People in science careers often need a strong ability to concentrate, even in the midst of noise. Check. It's a pleasure to have nominated Eloise as Student of the Month. She's an asset to our learning community, and I look forward to seeing her continue to develop as a scientific thinker. Congratulations. This is for you.
Yeah.
Say that.
Without much prompting, Eloise says biology is her favorite class. Next, Mrs. Folks is introducing Katy.
25 minutes. Yes. I'm kidding. Okay. You know, I look out here. I love doing this. Is the second time I've gotten to do this as well. And I look out here in James. I have him this semester. I've only had him for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, so I'm really expecting a lot of you now. Okay, Bailey, same thing. Brendon, ditto, because I tell you, it is so hard. They tell you can pick one person. It is the hardest choice that I really have to make here, I think. But Katy here is she was one of my health students, and I would say honestly that it's hard because health is only one semester, and I wish it was a full year class, although now I'm on video. But one semester's enough of health. But I wish it was a full year for kids like Katy, and I'm going to point out Brendon too, because you get some of these kids that you're hearing about today, and they just make teaching so much fun. But during the semester, she had the expected characteristics of what a teacher would desire: one who shows interest in the subject, completes homework, volunteers and participates in class discussion, and tries to do well on the test. That's what all us teachers expect out of you children. But Katy goes above and beyond this, and she did go above and beyond this, and this is why I nominated her at this time. She would willingly partner with someone or be in a group with students that other classmates didn't really want to be with. And she wouldn't give me the roll of the eyes or give me attitude, but she did it pleasantly and as a teacher, that's really hard because we do a lot of group work in class. And so having somebody that's like, yeah, okay, Mrs. Folks, I'll do that, that's fine. You know, I'm like, thank you. She would do extra credit work even if she didn't need it. And then she'd come in, she goes, that was really awesome. And I'm like, really? And then what I enjoyed most was watching her apply many of the health lessons to her everyday life, and some of which included positive, self-talk, decision-making skills, and just plain being who she was, not letting other people change her, let comments get her down. And when you look at her smile, you're like, this girl never gets her, she doesn't get down. But a couple examples, she came to school early in the semester, early in the year, with curlers in her hair, and she was just like, I just hate this. People look at me, wonder what in the world is going on, and I don't even know if kids know what curlers are anymore. I mean, we don't have to wear those anymore. And I'm like, oh, I said, well, what's going on? And she goes, well, I have to have my hair curled for my performance because she's a dancer. And I'm like, well, just tell them, it's okay. Tell them what you're doing, and then they won't look at you funny, but they'll think, oh, okay. But that was one example of that, because she was a little self-conscious about it. But you know what? Especially being a freshman, you're walking around the hallways with curlers in your hair, and people make fun of you. But she stood up to that, and she was very determined and like, okay, it's okay. This is who I am. Another example was one of her reflections, and I'm quoting this. After watching this movie, I took away to never give up. There have been rough times in my life where I've thought that I'm not good enough to be a dancer. I've never seen her dance. I really want to. And the other thing she said, or I'm not skinny enough to be a dancer. And I've thought that I may never be good enough to be a professional dancer. And the character in this was Chris. And she said Chris was dealing with a lot of problems, and it was very inspiring to see that he was able to face the problems and solve them. I can apply this to my life because if I ever encounter a problem, I can think of how Chris handled this. So that was, again, when we do reflections in class, we struggle because some kids are like, oh, I can't relate. Well, this just gives you an example of Katy and how she really is thinking through some of those things. Another example, deciding on how and where to spend her summer for dance opportunities. She's been proactive in applying as a freshman. I mean, I have all boys, so maybe girls are definitely different, but I have boys that still don't do that. But she was proactive. She's applying for these different things. And it wasn't just one place and thinking that she'd get that. She was applying, I think 4, was it, or more? 6, okay. But it was so fun when she came in actually a week or so ago and said where she figured out where she was going and what she was going to be doing this summer. So she was working towards that goal. And again, we touch on decision making, so I'm taking full credit for helping her make those decisions. But when talking about health specifically with Katy, her health triangle, and some of you that are in health or have been in health, we preach this all semester, but her health triangle, unfortunately, was a little is a little unbalanced. And due to her lack of sleep and her stress levels, as her compassion for dance, an incredible amount of time and effort she puts into dance, and her intense level of dance. So we joked about that, but we had a little project, and she was the winner, I guess you could call it winner, of this one. We were logging our sleep, and each class do that, and I had a winner in each class. And Katy, I don't remember the exact average, but she had the least amount of sleep out of all the kids in her class, which I think was, I'm not even going to say. Anyway, but she knew that. But in spite of that, with even this unbalance, Katy has faced her everyday challenges with as much grace and beauty as I can only imagine that you do with your dance. But she takes responsibility for her life performances by working hard, pushing forward, and is cheerful in spite of the work and the disappointments that appear along the way. Katy, I will miss your great spirit, your gentle, sweet spirit in class, and I'll definitely miss those times where we would look at each other and quietly laugh about something that somebody might have done or said. And, you know, Anna Green Gables, I was looking for a quote from Anna Green Gables because I feel like we're kindred spirit in that sense. But anyway, over the next 3.5 years, though, I don't expect anything less than great academic performance, and I'm really excited to watch you succeed in your aspirations of dance. So continue to be who you are, true to who you are, and keep working to reach your goals. Thank you.
The way you're standing here and the curlers, I was trying to put together, she's got to be an Irish dancer, right? No, wrong. What kind of dancing do you?
Just like
All kinds?
Yeah.
You don't have a favorite?
just ballet.
Ballet?
Yeah. Thank you.
The curler story, though, is definitely where you got that. She's sharing this one. Thanks to all of you for coming, and to all the teachers for sharing those wonderful stories, and to the students for being who you are. You make our lives really special and our career choice the best one ever.